Let's go, Wolves.
Powered by Riverside.
Welcome, UP Nation. The Minnesota Timberwolves just pulled off beating the world champion Denver Nuggets in Denver, in altitude, Game 7, down by I don't know how many points in the first half, 15 in the first half, coming back, storming back. Excellent game plan the second half. Stellar defense. I believe the Denver Nuggets only scored 35 points in the second half, and Anthony Edwards did not play his best game. How big was Naz Reid? Like, this is a game that will be etched in the epitaphs of Minnesota sports history. Like, this was a big-time game tonight for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Chris Finch, you saw him up on one leg, coaching on the sidelines. I mean, it was stellar. Everything seemed to be going Denver's way the first half. But I think the Minnesota Timberwolves did a great job of just staying close. And once the second half started, the Denver Nuggets actually came out at halftime and did a really, really good job of trying to expand the lead, got the lead to about 20, and then the Minnesota Timberwolves came storming back, just hitting some timely shots. And here's the deal. At the end, they got stops. Like, they were getting timely stops. They made the Denver Nuggets play a 2-point game, not giving up the 3-point shots. They made Jokic just take some hard shots from inside the paint, and he missed a few of those. And then they converted those shots into points going down in the second half. Again, like I said, Anthony Edwards did not play his best game, but he had some timely drives, and he impacted the game just with assists. But Naz Reid, offensive rebounds. Karl Anthony Towns, huge offensive rebounds late in the game. And say what you want about Karl Anthony Towns. Say what you want. He's been criticized in big games. I thought tonight he was more aggressive than Anthony Edwards was on the offensive end of the basketball. You can tell Big Cat wanted it bad. He wanted it bad tonight. On the offensive rebounding end, Rudy Gobert did a fantastic job. He had that big shot from just inside the three-point line. I have been criticizing him all series long that he really can't score if he doesn't dunk the ball, and I still believe that he really can't score if he doesn't dunk the ball. But he hit a big-time jumper, whether it was luck or not. Sometimes you need a little bit of luck to advance to the Western Conference Finals, and Rudy Gobert did that, hitting big shots, getting some key offensive rebounds in the second half. Mike Conley, like, these are the type of games that you want Mike Conley for. He's a coach on the floor. Like, when things got rattled, he just settled everything down. When he was on the floor, I just felt safe with the ball in Mike Conley's hands. This was just a great win for the Timberwolves fans. And here's the deal. Dallas, they beat OKC. So now, guess who has home court advantage? The Minnesota Timberwolves for the next round. So that first game in the series will be Wednesday night at home in Minneapolis. Let's go, Wolves. This is an unbelievable. And hey, I have to admit, after they lost those 2 games at home and then came back to Denver and lost the third, I had the Timberwolves left for dead. Like I always say on the UP, we're going to keep it real. I'm not going to hide from what I said. I had them left for absolutely dead. I thought there was no way they could come back and win this series, but I was taught a lesson that no matter if you have a slim chance, no matter what it is, if you have a good coaching staff and guys that are willing, you can make great things happen. And that's what the Minnesota Timberwolves did. To go into Denver, the world champions' home, in front of a hostile environment and be down by 15 points in the first half, come back in the second half and be able to make clutch baskets, get clutch stops, and defensive rebounds when you needed them, and a big block by Rudy Gobert when Porter went to the basket to try to score. There were just plays where it was just all about playmaking. It was all about playmaking for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and whatever they needed to play in the second half, they got it done, whether it was on the defensive end or the offensive end. This is one of the biggest victories in Minnesota Timberwolves lore. Like, I know Kevin Garnett is somewhere feeling happy as all get out because the Minnesota Timberwolves pulled this game out. I don't know if you were able to go on social media and see the message that Kevin Garnett left for the Minnesota Timberwolves and Rudy Gobert and Anthony Edwards. But it was one of those messages where you guys have an opportunity to go out and win that game, and tonight you better do it. The Minnesota Timberwolves should be proud of what they gave to their fans tonight. Like, this is the kind of game where when you look at the history of Minnesota sports, they just don't come through. And so I think the majority of the Timberwolves fans out there were like, hey, as long as they come in and compete, even if we lose, we're happy. As long as they don't get blown out by 20, we're happy. And the Minnesota Timberwolves did more than that. They were down by 15, and I think the majority of Minnesota Timberwolves fans were like, here we go again. And then they came back. They started getting that thing back 2 points at a time, one stop at a time, 1 3-pointer at a time, 1 shot at a time, 1 free throw at a time. And they came back. And once they tied the game, I said, we've got a chance. The Minnesota Timberwolves have a chance to win that game. And once they got that lead, they played smart basketball. They extended the shot clock. They took long, extended possessions, which are key at the end of basketball games. And once it got to about that 3-minute mark, and I believe we were up by 10, I said, you know what? The Denver Nuggets really don't have enough possessions unless things go absolutely perfect for the Nuggets. So I was like, every time on the offensive end, all the Minnesota Timberwolves have to come down and do is extend that shot clock. You can let that thing run out, or you can let it dwindle down to about 2 to 3 seconds, take your shots, and all you need on the defensive end is a couple of stops. And the Minnesota Timberwolves did that. Unbelievable game. Let's look at some of these stats. Rudy Gobert, 13 points, 9 rebounds in 36 minutes. Had a lot of minutes tonight. Anthony Edwards, again, didn't play his best game. But here's the deal about greatness. When you don't play your best game, this was his stat line. 16 points, facilitated early, had seven assists, and he had 8 rebounds. Almost a few shy in a couple of different categories, a triple-double. Jaden McDaniels, 23 points, 1 assist, 6 rebounds. And then my guy, Big Cat, Karl Anthony Towns, who has been the face of this organization since he got here. He's had to take a little bit of a back seat to Anthony Edwards. Tonight he came up big, and he's been criticized in years past not coming up big in big games, and he came up in big games tonight. He was excellent. 23 points. He had 2 assists, but he had 12 rebounds. And here's the deal about Big Cat. He was aggressive. And say what you want about Anthony Edwards and Big Cat. To me, Big Cat was the man tonight because he was absolutely aggressive trying to score the basketball. And then you have the coach on the floor, Mike Conley Jr., 10 points, 4 assists, and 8 rebounds. But here's the deal. When the Wolves needed to get settled down, you need that leader out there on the floor. And Mike Conley was that leader out there on the floor getting everybody settled down. And when we needed to run our sets, he got us in our sets and made timely passes. Off the bench, the sixth man of the year, Naz Reid, had 11 points, 1 assist, 4 rebounds in 22 minutes. Now, 22 minutes doesn't seem like a whole lot, but he made the most of the minutes that he got on the floor. And man, was he big in that fourth quarter. He was huge in that fourth quarter. And I think Finchie and those guys had to make a decision at the end of the game. Who do we give the minutes to? Rudy Gobert fouls out at the end of the game, I believe, so they had to go with Karl Anthony Towns, which was able to keep Naz Reid in the game, and I thought that was the right decision. The Minnesota Timberwolves, by quarter, 19 points in the first quarter, 19 points in the second quarter, 28 in the third quarter, 32 in the fourth quarter. And on the other end, you've got the Denver Nuggets, 24 in the first, 29 in the second, 14 in the third, 23 in the fourth to end the game. Final score, Minnesota Timberwolves 98, the Denver Nuggets 90. What an absolutely epic game. You talking about a guy that is extremely hyped and happy that the Minnesota Timberwolves were able to pull out this game. Minneapolis, stand up. This is huge for our franchise to be able to not only advance to the Western Conference Finals, like that's not the issue, but you did it against Jokic, arguably, the best player in the world. He was MVP this year. And to be able to do that in the Western Conference and beat the world champions to go to the Western Conference Finals, hey, that's a big-time job. And I'm not underestimating anybody because the Denver Nuggets was a great foe. Obviously, the world champions, but the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic coming to town, that's not an easy task. But I'll tell you this, I like the matchup. And nothing is going to be easy going forward. Like, this is where you have the best team, the best 4 teams going at it. The best 4 teams are going to be going at it to get to the finals, the NBA finals. I'm really rattled right now because I'm totally pumped. The NBA finals. So you can take nothing for granted. It's not going to be easy, but I like the matchups against the Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic, and Kyrie Irving. Let's go. The Minnesota Timberwolves, 98-90. We're going to get more into this on the UP coming up tomorrow. We're going to have a preview of the Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves series, which starts Wednesday at the Target Center. Minnesota Timberwolves Nation, stand up. The UP Nation, stand up. You got to be happy for the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is a great time to be a Minnesota Timberwolves fan. This is the UP. We will be back at you tomorrow previewing this game among other topics. Let's go Wolves.
Powered by Riverside.